Good evening! Welcome to our streaming Ghost Stories in Winter Night 2025 edition. Okay, sadly I couldn't go live on Christmas as I am used to do and as it would be more proper for a Krampus like me. But sadly, I had no time. You know, we monsters have our business too. So I've had a special permission from His Lordship, the Bishop St. Nicholas, to go live on January. Okay, it's so wonderful to see you here. I'm so eager to scare you with delicious ghost stories. Well, winter nights are not over yet, and perhaps there will be snow as well. So please take a seat near the fireplace and go live with me. As far as our stories are concerned, I have asked my followers which kind of stories they would have liked, and they answered they would have preferred to hear about Prague ghosts again. Okay, so we'll go on reading ghost stories from Prague. I'm sure you will love them. So let's forget my whip for a while. And let's take the book. I mean, this book. You know well. Okay, the one you can find probably only at Prague's Ghost Museum. And I have found some pieces of cake for you here that can scare the wits out of you. But let's read the message before. Okay, I'm receiving so many hearts. Thank you. He's a follower from Italy, so grazie mille. Okay, as far as our Prague ghosts are concerned, let's read. Okay, a great classical, The Miller with a Mysterious Carriage. Okay, mysterious carriages are all the rage here. I bet you have heard about mysterious carriages in horror stories all over the world. This is in the street named Naprzykopie in Prague. At times, when fireworks were known only to nobility, the Prague citizens had taken pleasure in any attraction, and the miller with the mysterious carriage was among the most popular. It was an apparition that had been riding every night from the Vltava river through Celetna Street, finishing at Naprzykopie Street. At the moment the ghostly horses reached their destination, they reared and neighed loudly, as if the troops were on their way to the battle. Perhaps Frau Blucher had passed by there. Okay, Frau Blucher! Yee! You remember Frankenstein Jr.? I'm sure. I'm positive. Oh, let's see what they have written. No, nothing. Okay, but I see someone else has taken part to our live show. Wow, welcome. Okay, let's go on. Here the reins in the miller's hands turned into living snakes that hissed fiercely. Even the carriage began to rattle and roar as if it was full of storm clouds, and the ground around the apparition began to shake and tremble as if a new volcano had been born under Prague. Okay. No co-host. I don't co-host anything. Oh, someone was asking for a co-host. Well, how do they dare? They will try my whip. Okay, let's go on. At that moment, it was enough for the ghost too, and he cried out, "Dear Mother Mary, make it stop!" And he vanished into the air with the horses and carriage. The mysterious miller had appeared night after night until the introduction of Krzyzik's invention, the arc lamp, which illuminated the streets of Prague with a yellowish glow and until the carriages were replenished by automobiles. The miller didn't like it all, obviously, as he has not been seen for many decades now. But until today, many people wonder what had the miller done, why he had to haunt Prague in such a bizarre manner. It is possible that it was the same miller who rides in a similar manner from Vyšehrad Castle to Štíkov Mills, but this is different legend, and the locals do not want to borrow it from their Newtown neighbors. Okay, all the names we have mentioned in Czech are parts of Prague, and also the new town is a part of Prague. Well, it's funny to say, because the new town is in fact several centuries old. It was built in the 14th century, if I can remember well, and it was new at the time, but now it's old like the old town. Oh, funny! By the way, the poor miller was a ghost, so he was evidently scared by our modern electric lamps, so poor spirit, poor old ghosts. Let's go on with another story. Are you ready for the evil servant from Panska Street? Okay, Panska Street, Panska ulica, it should be in Czech, is another street in Prague, of course. And let's see why this servant was so evil. Okay, nobody has written, but I am receiving so many hearts, so thanks. Grazie to my Italian followers. Okay, there was a family of good people with 3 children in Panska Street whose servant was a real villain. He was stealing from the family here and there. To cut a long story short, he deserved much worse masters than he actually had. When the plague broke out in the city and everyone was scared, the manservant was quite happy about it. Oh, that's disgusting. His mistress was one of the first victims of the plague, followed by the master soon after. The servant saw the possibility of getting his hands on family property, so he falsified the testament of his former peers. It is said that he would become the foster parent of the kids and the universal heir in case of their death. Oh, I really can't see what could happen now. When the city council confirmed the validity of the testament, it was all very easy to get rid of the children, blaming the plague. In these times, nobody wanted to examine the victims too meticulously, fearing the Black Death. In no time, the servant became the master, and he wouldn't let anyone doubt about his new status. He did not enjoy his wealth for a long time, however. One night a black tomcat appeared in front of him. It kept sitting on his chest while he was sleeping, and as he woke up, he stared into the yellow glowing eyes. The cat's eye pupils retracted, and the suddenly fierce animal scratched his face violently. The cat came again the next night, and soon it was appearing regularly even during the daytime. It kept attacking the servant and couldn't be killed. The servant used to run away, chased by the cat, but all the bystanders only saw a lunatic man waving his arms around him. Okay, this is typical cat behavior, actually, even when the cat isn't sent by the devil. So they began to regard the servant as obsessed with the devil. Okay, between a devil and a cat there's not so much difference after all. And as such, they drove him out of the city gates. This was the last time anybody saw him. But when they demolished the house many years later, they found the skeletons of 3 little kids. Oh, they were the poor kids who had been killed by the evil servant. Concerning the tomcat, it is still roaming in Panska Street in night, ready to attack anyone willing to rob the innocent. Maybe if it could wander a bit further into the city, Prague would be a much better place. Of course, any place is better with cats. Another version of the story claims that the tomcat is the evil servant himself. He gets caught by a cook or a butcher sometimes, gets skinned, disemboweled and finally cooked, but the next day he revives again, in the same manner as the livers of Prometheus, inevitably ending in the baking over again and again. Oh, he told me that someone used to cook cats instead of rabbits, but I thought it wasn't true. The butchers and cooks get richer and the servant redeems himself of his sins over and over. He will only be saved if an innocent child pets it and caresses it gently over the ears, but it is only a hypothetical situation as he only appears at night when the innocent children are asleep at home. Oh, I could pet this cat myself, but I'm not sure I'm so innocent. Okay, have you liked this story? I see so many hearts. Thanks. And welcome to the new followers, welcome to the new listeners. I'm so happy to have you here. Now it is time for a change. No more cats, but a headless rider at U Hibernu in Hiberska Street. The surroundings of U Hibernu Church was visited from time to time by a mysterious rider. I'm sure he didn't carry pizzas. It was a ghost, but it wasn't clear if he is one of the killed soldiers from the nearby Josephine barracks or the spirit of a sinful monk who lost his head because of a love affair. Some even say that he is in fact an actor from the former Hebron Theatre, and this is the reason for his pompous and bizarre entree. Oh, so this rider loves theatre. This is good. I like it. As we already said, the rider was headless, and his horse had only 3 legs. But poor guys, oh. But it did not prevent the animal from galloping through the streets and striking the sparks with his horseshoes. His journey always ends in the same manner. The horse rides through the wall of an old customs house and disappears. In recent years, the ghastly horse is a rare sight, as the world had changed so much. The barracks were rebuilt as a shopping mall, the church has turned into the theatre house, and the old customs house now serves as an office building. Okay, so I guess we won't see the rider anymore. That's a shame, since he would have enjoyed the presence of a theatre. He was so theatrical, they say. Okay, as far as the cat is concerned, we have talked about the cat in the story before. I have such a nice picture to show you. Let's see if I can show you properly. Okay, I really love this book also for its pictures. It's a masterpiece. Okay, we have seen an evil servant who had never been fired, and I don't know why. He was even his master's hair. I can't explain this. He was evil, he stole things, he surely didn't work very well. Why didn't they fire him? Okay, but this is just a story. You know, ghost stories rarely make sense, so please take it easy. We have seen the servant, the rider, Miller, and now we will see an old woman who loved gambling, in Vltava Street. A pale, ghastly old woman walks every night in Vltava Street. Once there lived a widow which got hooked on gambling. She did not care for herself and kept betting on her money, although she never won. Okay, today we know this is a sort of disease. This is something not healthy. We have a name for this. We have treatments, but at that time, sadly, the ones who spent all their money on gambling were simply considered vicious people. They weren't cared for. Oh, thanks for the rose. Thank you very much. Okay, I was saying gamblers were seen as vicious people, even when they couldn't give up gambling, even when they were addicted to gambling, they weren't cared for. So this poor widow spent all her money. Her son did military service and sent many home to his mother to keep them safe. Oh, poor boy, he didn't know. He was to return home very soon and was looking forward to marrying his beloved Rezinka. That's so sad. In the meanwhile, his mother ran out of money and started to bet her sons. She believed that she would multiply them for him to get more than he earned. Okay, that's the usual excuse. But his money was fading away instead of multiplying. Of course, gambling is rarely a good business. One night she heard a strange voice whispering a number. The woman was sure that it was a voice of her son and therefore a sign. She took all the remaining money, bet it all, and lost. What a disaster. When she finally figured out what she had done, she jumped out of the window and died. Up to now, she keeps walking in Vltava street, showing the passers-by her lottery ticket, warning them against gambling and faith in the highest bid. This could be a good way to warn people. Nowadays, she has no rest because of all the new casinos and one-armed bandits in Prague. Oh, I can bet. that was a pun I didn't mean. Okay. Even when she is the most hard-working Prague spirit, it is not enough. Many people got addicted to gambling, and who knows how many of them are going to haunt Prague. Oh, I guess there will be an overcrowding of ghosts. What do you think of it? What do you think of it? Have you had any experience with gambling? I hope not, because my followers are usually very young and it would be a very bad sign. Sorry, my poor English is so rusty now. I'm a Krampus. I mainly talk German or Slovenian, Slavic languages, German languages, but not English. So my English is not perfect. By the way, if you are a monster who serves a dead saint bishop, you can't practice languages very often. I usually interact with people using my whip, not talking to them. I just growl if I have. Or I roar, but actually I don't talk very much. And only on one night, the night of the 15th of December. So it's very... it's not so much for interaction, you know. So please allow me to make mistakes in English, since I'm just a poor goat man who growls and roars at bad children, at naughty children. But let's go on. Oh, I was talking of children, and now we will talk of a poor baby and his poor mother. Because this is the story of the headless lover and the young woman with the baby coming from Na Florenzi Street in Prague. An odd ghastly triplet keeps appearing. The ghost of a young woman with a baby and a lover at Florence. At the beginning, it was a common story. A young couple moved to a garden villa. She was young, beautiful, and poor, and he was old, ugly, but rich. Oh, it could be me if I was rich, actually. It was the kind of marriage where love was not present, of course. It is no wonder that as soon as he left home for business, the woman started an affair with a young man from Caroline, and soon a baby was born. 1 year went by, and suddenly her husband returned unexpectedly and found her in bed with her lover. Okay, that's a great classic. Their love was really passionate, and they did not notice anything but themselves, just like poor Paolo and Francesca in the Commedia by Dante Alighieri. He went back to the hall where his mute servant was awaiting orders. In the meanwhile, the woman heard some strange noise and left to check the baby in the cradle. When she came back to the bedroom with the baby in her arms, her husband stood there with the severe head of her lover. He emerged right to her, giving her the head, saying, "This is a gift for your child, to remember what his father looked like." He turned away, called his guard, and left. The servant followed his master's orders and set the house on fire. The woman lost her mind, running in the garden, and before anybody could stop her, she ran with her baby straight into the burning house. She still appears at night with her baby in her arms and the headless lover by her side. But couldn't he put his head on his shoulders again, since he was a ghost and he could? Okay. But I guess that when he was headless, he was more wonderful to see, so maybe he preferred like this. After all, for a ghost is healthy to be headless. It's better because he can scare people better, of course. Thanks for all your hearts. Thanks for all your appreciation. Okay. Perhaps I could pronounce English words better if I had them. Thanks. Oh. Okay. Are you scared? Are you sad? This last story was really sad. It was really mournful. What about something more cheerful, something white, like a white unicorn? Because now we will talk of the spirit of the white unicorn in Petrska Quarter, and the unicorn is like this. Okay. It's handsome, isn't it? Let's go on reading its story. Prague spiritists were always keen on summoning various spirits from the ancient past. Some of them have overestimated their skills and died, like the spiritist Ulrich from Celetna Street. Some underestimated the power of the ghosts who got loose of their control and have been roving in Prague since then. Oh, this explains the existence of a book like this, by the way. We are talking about ghost stories from Prague for the second time, and we still haven't even reached the half of the stories that they tell there about the ghosts. So I was wondering why this town had so many ghosts in it. Okay, well, it's easy to explain. In Prague there have been a lot of spiritists, and they called all these ghosts into the city. Okay, it sounds reasonable. The second case took place at the bishop's court, where spiritists used to hold their secret meetings. One day they came up with the idea of summoning an animal instead of a human one. They chose an animal scarce enough not to be laughed at from other spiritists, as if they chose a goat or ground squirrel. Therefore, they decided to summon a white unicorn. Oh, sure, surely everyone will like it. Unicorns have always been considered magical, and meeting them was the dream of an enthusiast of the magic craft. Since that time, worldly powers helped with their deeds and success was at their hands. After a while, a white unicorn started to emerge in the middle of the summoning circle. Okay, can you imagine? You are there in a circle. You are talking nonsense, you are saying strange formulas, you are whispering, you are waiting for something, and now a white unicorn, a handsome white unicorn. That must have been great. His white horn pierced through the midst of reality, and finally he jumped out, shining white and beautiful in the middle of the circle. All were amazed, unable to say a single word. All but the spiritist Vltava, who whispered silently, "Oh Lord!" Even such a small sigh was enough to startle the unicorn. Instead of going back to the realm of dreams, it went out into the streets of Prague, and the spiritists did not have enough power to return it where it came from. Okay, so this is a trouble. Of course, you can't run through the streets and cry, "Have you seen my unicorn? My unicorn has escaped. My unicorn has flown away." They would take you for a mad person. Okay, a unicorn, definitely a unicorn is not a dog to catch. I don't know how fast a unicorn can run, but I guess it's pretty fast. Much faster than I could run. I'm afraid. It can be sometimes seen galloping through the streets of Old Town at moonless nights. Only the one with a beautiful mind who believes in spirits can see him. Unfortunately, it is usually children who can see it, and the adults do not believe them, and that is the reason why the apparition has never been reliably proven. By the way, I guess there aren't many children around in moonless nights. So it is only a legend. Oh, it was such a dreamlike story. We have some more time to enjoy together, so perhaps we will go back to a story of gambling, because we have the card gambler unto death in Petrske Square, and this is the one. Okay, I guess this is pretty clear. Near the church of St. Peter, a skeleton dressed up in sexton's robe appears, shuffling cards. Okay, it seems all normal, of course. In his pockets are rattling human bones. Okay. It seems to be the sexton of this church who sank into gambling. He would bet only the small pieces of wood he was carrying in his pockets, but many claimed that he counted sinfully. He did not stop playing even during the plague epidemic. So he was a proper addicted. After 2 of his faithful mates died of plague, he came to the church in the evening and told their dead bodies that he would give his life and soul to be allowed to play with them one more time. Okay, don't you find it sweet? He wanted to go on playing with his little dear friends. Okay, I guess it wasn't all friendship since he was addicted to gambling. But okay. Suddenly, his mates got up and he was too keen to play that he did not realize anything strange. Okay, his friends are dead of plague and they suddenly jump up and go on gambling with him. Okay, it's all pretty normal. Who hasn't seen such a thing? It's something that happens every day, right? Okay, let's go on. Full of joy, he spread the cards on the altar and brought lights for them to see well, and on they played. Okay, so he's playing with dead people in a church. He's gambling in a sacred place with skeletons. Well, I really can see nothing improper. At midnight, there appeared a crowd of dead. They crawled out of their graves, cursing him for desecrating the church. Oh, here honest people are trying to sleep. Why can't you go to bed? You night walkers. Okay, I can imagine the scene. Okay, it's something that happens whenever you stay awake for a long time by night, and your neighbors are disturbed by you. Okay, your old neighbors surely don't like what you are doing. They don't like to be kept awake as well at night. The sexton fell dead and was found together with his friends lying on the floor the next morning. He's cursed to walk around the church and offer a game of cards to passers-by. Okay, so if you are in Prague and you are alone near a church by night and someone invites you to play cards, maybe it's not a good idea to accept. He can be freed by somebody who would play with him, win the game, sprinkle holy water on him, and finally burn the cards. So please bring at least with you some holy water and some fire. You never know. Long ago, there was one player who decided to join, but he did not know how to play the olden game and was torn to pieces. Okay, this is a fair play. Typical fair play. The ghost does not appear so often nowadays because all the gamblers are holed up in the casinos with neon lights, keeping away the ghosts of old Prague, and the gambling old lady from the Vltava streets is also cursed to take care of them. Okay, so the lady we have spoken of before somewhat ruins the game to this card gambler, since she warns living people, of the dangers of gambling. So he couldn't find anyone anyways. Okay, we have about 15 minutes to enjoy these stories together. Right, please, if you like this story, I'd like if you sent some gifts. It would help me. Go on with these live streams. It would support me and perhaps give me more ideas for you. Thanks. Okay. Let's read another story or even two stories. Why not? About the fire imp Bumbalek and the drunkards in Naporjici Street. In the Naporjici Street, a fire imp used to appear. His hair and beard were shining with flames so bright that he could guide the drunkards home at night. Oh, that's practical. That's even ecological. You aren't waste energy for lamps since there is the fire imp. He had been walking them home through the dark lanes of Prague for 300 years, and nobody ever thanked him. Oh, that's so rude. Once he was walking home, a drunken shoemaker who was drunk but did not forget his good manners and thanked him. And finally, the fire imp also thanked him because this single phrase was enough to set him free. Oh, finally he can go on holiday! Nowadays, drunkards have to use street lights and hope to find their way before they encounter the blue light of the police beacon. The legend does not explain how the fire imp came to Porzici. He had mostly drunkards, so it is possible that he used to be one himself. It was in the ancient times when people had to carry torches to see at night and not to be mistaken for a thief or a robber and not to get grabbed by the guards. Nothing good can ever come from the interaction of fire and alcohol, and it seems that the drunkard got burned on his way home and died unreconciled with the Lord. Perhaps he had gone too near the fire imp. That is why he had to do good deeds for all the drunkards he met and why he waited for 300 years to be freed. Okay, so the story meant that the fire imp was a human drunkard. He was carrying his torch and he got burned. Perhaps he blew on the torch and of course his breath was full of alcohol, so he caught fire. Okay, that would be so sad if it was true. Okay. One of the stories I had taken into consideration for this night was actually a great classical, A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens. Okay, I won't read A Christmas Carol since my followers have chosen ghost legends from Prague. But there is a story here which title is The Treasure of a Scrooge. And who doesn't remember Mr. Scrooge? This is a Mr. Scrooge from the Terska Quarter. So let's read about him. And let's put an end to this streaming in this way. Once, near St. Peter's Church, there lived a rich burgher who loved money more than anything and would give nobody, not even his relatives, a single penny. He was so mean that he bought a cheap coffin instead of bed to sleep in. Okay. Well, that's the best choice to have nice dreams, to have nice dreams at night. Okay. One morning he was found dead in his coffin and he was already ready. So he was just getting ready for the moment. We had misjudged him. His family did not hesitate to bury him almost immediately. Of course, there was nothing to wait for. He was already ready. He was already inside his coffin. Why to wait? His relatives were really happy because the deceased had prepared everything for a cheap burial and saved them a lot of money. But then he was a good person. Why are we talking of him as if he was a grumpy old man? It was very quick because his relatives could not wait to start looking for the treasure. Okay, the same day he was buried, they started to look in his house for gold, jewels, and money. But whatever they did, and wherever they searched, they found nothing. The house was completely empty. Once the sexton went along the cemetery at the Peter's Church and saw a yellowish light above the burgher's grave. Since he was a wise man, being aware of the occult signs of the old Prague, he figured out that the treasure wanted to be found. The next day he returned to the cemetery with his son and everything that was necessary to dig the treasure up. At first they threw a rosary on the grave to prevent the treasure from falling in, and they started to dig up the grave. They opened the coffin and looked inside. To their surprise, the dead was literally sleeping on gold because all his valuables were hidden in the pillow under his head. Oh, many hidden under the pillow. That's a great classic. Why the hell his relatives didn't think of it? They had to remove the pillow. Oh, you see, it's never a good idea to be eager to do something. You have to stay and think before. Never be in a hurry. During his life, he did not want to cope with the fact that he could not take his gold to the grave and did not want to part with it even after his death. He did not take his treasure to the grave for good. The gold wanted to get out. And the lucky finders gave a lot of gold to the poor. The treasure had apparently checked the soul of the finder to show itself to the right person. I wish Manny was always so sensible. There is one more similar legend about the cemetery at the St. Adalbert Church. Maybe it is due to the lack of fantasy within the people of Prague or too many Scrooges in the streets of Prague. Okay, guys, I have really enjoyed your company. It has been great to read these stories with you and for you. I hope your fireplace have kept you warm and that the light of the fire has made these stories even more magical for you. Okay, unless you want to send us some more gifts, I am ready to say you goodbye and see you next year for other ghost stories on winter nights. See you, bye bye.